I'm going to talk a little crap stuff, and then I'm going to tell. It's not exactly a prison story. It's a story about some of the stupid stuff I did before I went to prison. And in this story, I'll get to that after the crap stuff. But so, crap stuff I want to talk about. Everybody seems to be liking the barrel roll. Guys, I'm actually really, really, really getting into this. I've noticed that my shots are doing overall better with it. And it seems to work from every spot on the table, so I actually really like it. I don't really know why it works better than the other stuff, but I have a good 100 sessions in on it now, and it seems to be working really well. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep adjusting and checking more and more out, see if I can't get it more refined, the science, because right now it's mostly just, it's working better than the normal. Hello everybody. And so like some of the time, I've only had 2 real losing sessions. All the other sessions that I either broke even or I was just down a couple dollars when I stopped. But the huge majority of the sessions using the barrel roll, within 3 shooters, I had made $300 off of $1,000 bankroll by playing. And again, guys, this is at the house. This is me just practicing at the house. But the consistency of it is far better than when I shoot in a traditional manner. So I'm really getting into this and really checking it out deeper and adjusting some things and seeing if there's some technique involved. And so, yeah, but I mean, it's working really well for me. And anyways, so to the story. All right, so the story goes as this. This was right before I got in trouble, and I was pretty messed up at this time, guys. Right before I got in trouble, I was a bad guy. I wasn't a guy you wanted around. I did a lot of bad things, from dealing with narcotics to just taking things from people, other people that dealt with narcotics, normal people. Pretty much, if you weren't, I didn't mess with you. Really hurt public type people. It was always people in the same world as me. And but anyway, so this kind of goes along those same lines. A guy I know, drug addict guy, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, you want to make $4,000? And I was like, "Of course I want to make $4,000. And he goes, "Well, let's split it." And I'm thinking, okay, cool. And he goes, "I need you to sell a quarter pound of stuff to this guy, a quarter pound now." And I said, "Well, first of all, I don't have a quarter pound of that stuff." And he goes, "Oh yeah, we'll just make some fake stuff." And so I've never been involved in anything like this at this point. So I was like, fake stuff. So we're going around, and this guy's a meth head, guys. This guy's a full-on meth head. And sure enough, we figure out that Walmart sells quarter pound boxes of sugar. So literally a quarter pound in this box. And so we don't even have to weigh it. It's a quarter pound. And so this guy, being a meth head and being involved in that, he goes, "Well, we need to make it smell like ether." So he sprays some carburetor cleaner in this baggie that we've transferred the sugar into. And so it smells like ether. And it looks like meth when you look at it through the bag. But like if you took it out, it looks like sugar or salt, It doesn't look like meth. Guys, meth doesn't look like sugar or salt in real life. If you've never seen meth, it does not. I go do the deal with this guy, and so the weirdest thing about this is he has one of those little Dodge trucks. They're from like the 80s. They're called they're like Dodge Ram 50s or whatever. They're these little itty bitty tiny trucks. And he has this little truck and it's all done up. It's all like customized and stuff. When I get in, I'm kind of a big guy. I'm not a huge guy, but I'm kind of a big guy. And so I get in this truck with this guy, and we're at a park. And I pull out the fake stuff, and he's like, "Hey, I need to try it." And I'm like, "No." I said, "This is." We had our story made up. I was a guy from another town, and this was my last of my last. I said, "Either you're buying this or I'm going," and everything. And so he gets to like these meth shakes, they see a lot of meth, they freak out. And so he's like, okay. And so he pulls out this little crappy digital scale, and it comes out like 4 grams short. Okay, so guys, a gram of meth generally goes for $100. If you don't know this, a gram of methamphetamine will generally go for about $100. And at this time, that was the going rate. And you guys got to remember, this was like 2000 or 2001. This was a long time ago. And sure enough, it comes up like 4 grams short. So it's like 4 grams short. So now he's freaking out. He's like, I'm like, hold on, dude, it's a quarter pound. I said, so it's not actually 4 grams short. And so this guy just starts pulling money out of everywhere. I'm talking out of the visor, out of the console, out of his pocket, out of an Altoids can. I mean, like, it's like $500 here, $300 here, and it's in all kinds of bills. I mean, all the way from dollar bills to $100 bills. And he's counting it all out for me. Well, it gets to like $3,500, and he has some more money left, and I'm like, yeah, that's good, it's fine. And so he just gives me it, and it was right at $4,000. It was so weird. This guy pulled it out from everywhere, and I think I know why, because I think he thought I was going to rob him, and he was only going to get robbed for a small amount. He wasn't going to get robbed for all the other. Well, guys, I'm like trying to get out of this little truck, right? He gets the dope from me with a fake dope. He gets it from me, and I have a hoodie on, and I have the money in my hoodie in pocket. And before I'm even fully out of the little truck, he just zooms off. I mean, just takes off. And so I'm like, wow. Well, my buddy that set the whole thing up, he's right there in another truck. And sure enough, I get in with him, and he goes, "Hey, did you get it done?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so this guy goes, "All right." He's like, "Where's my money?" I said, "You didn't really do anything, and I'm the one taking all the risk here." So I said, "I'm only going to give you $1,000. I'm going to keep $3,000. And he couldn't do anything about it. Like I said, guys, at the time, I was a pretty bad person, and this guy couldn't do nothing about it. He's lucky I gave him what I gave him. But anyway, so I ended up for a quarter pound of sugar with $3,000. So like it was like $1.50 quarter pound of sugar. I ended up with $3,000. And then, guys, this is an absolutely 100% totally legit true story. All right. The guy's name that I ripped off for this is named Donnie Lewis. All right. And I know this for sure because I saw him in prison. And so, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 years later, I run into him in prison. And guys, he's not a big guy, he's a little guy. And he recognizes me. And he comes up to me and he goes, "You're the one that sold me that fake dope." And I said, "Who are you?" And he goes, and that's when I found out his name. He's like, "Yeah, in that park that night, with Chris, this other guy." He goes, "You're the one." And I said, "Yeah." I said, whatever, you're not going to do anything about it anyway. So I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, that's fucked up." And he goes on and proceeds and tells me this story that, like, most of that money wasn't his money. It was all these other dope heads' money. And I guess they beat the hell out of him for bringing back fake dope. I guess they beat him up pretty good. And he was like all sold up about it. And guys, this is one of the things, this is how that world goes. Right? That world is bad. It's a grimy world. Guys like me take advantage of guys like them, and so it's a bad world to be in. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so it was just a crazy deal. You know where I put that $3,000 at? This is no bullshit either. That $3,000 basically got spent that night. That night, I basically blew that $3,000 that night between buying alcohol, buying other drugs, and buying basically just like a whole pretty for people. So yeah, basically it just all went to having fun that night. I think I had a little money left the next day out of it, but guys, you gotta understand, that didn't matter to me. The next day, there was another $300,000 to be made. Not 300, sorry, another $3,000, you know, or another 1,000 or whatever. There was always something. And guys, yes, it's absolutely illegal. It's called impersonating a controlled substance. Yeah, it's absolutely illegal. I'm not worried about it coming back on me or nothing, because this was like 20 years ago now. So, but yeah, the guys, how am I explain this? Like, I was a guy that the dope dealer would come to or call. Yeah, the table limits have changed. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait. But, so the dope dealers would get a hold of me to go get their money for them. That's who I was. And I didn't do a lot of drugs. I wasn't big into drugs. I did do some of them, and I've tried basically every drug pretty much, but I really was never really into them. I was into the adrenaline of doing this stuff. I was into that stuff. That's what I liked. And so what would happen is guys would send me to get their money, you know, because guys, it's if you're not just a street corner drug dealer, if you're bigger than that, you don't really want to have to get involved in that stuff, because that just brings more heat on you. But anyway, so yeah, I saw that guy in prison, and I I never thought there would be any problems with it or anything, and there never was. He never tried to fight me or nothing. He didn't try to get any of his friends, because the thing is like, his friends were my friends in there, you know, they were my associates too, and obviously they weren't going to take his side over my side. I might lose you guys right through here, so if you just bear with me. But this is the spot where I usually lose y'all. But yeah, so that it was just a really crazy situation, you know, cheat people out of things like that, and it's just a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, that thing is, you just have to, you know, you got to understand that it's dangerous. You know, you can get hurt in that world. That, you know, and that's what I worry about sometimes, because I've done other bad things to other people, and I wonder if I ever run into them, you know, because I would deserve any kind of, you know, revenge thing they had, for sure. But that kind of stuff, I'm so far removed from it now. It just seems so comical and so trivial to me when I look back on the things that I did and why I did them. I just, so trivial and so silly that I just wonder, like, how I got that far gone in my, you know, because it's all mental. It's all really a mental thing. You know, I wasn't never addicted to anything besides just the rush, besides just that part of it. I liked the adrenaline part of it. Yeah, I just use a lay bet for that don't pass come out. Now, if you want to protect it forever, yeah, I mean, you'd have to hop it or something. I wouldn't worry about it too much after that, after you got it through. I mean, if it gets knocked off, it gets knocked off. That's part of it. But yeah, so it was a weird deal. I mean, seeing that guy again, it was just weird. But I mean, I wasn't someone that you wanted to have faith in. It's so different now. I mean, I'm like 100 times different person. But the thing is that stuff, those feelings never go away. Like you never lose you never lose the itch to do things wrong. If you've ever went down those paths, or if you've ever been into drugs, you never lose that itch to want to do them. You just have to choose to not want it. Yeah, it should be done. It should be fine from here. But, so, I'll tell one more prison story, and this one is a very, it's kind of an ugly story, really. Just the whole situation is pretty ugly. But it's the worst I've ever seen someone get hurt in prison. By far the worst. And the other times I saw people get hurt are not even close to this. But so, in Arkansas prisons, the huge majority of them are not cells, they're barracks. So it's just a bunch of beds in a room. And there's usually upstairs and downstairs. And these beds are movable. You can pick them up or whatever. Well, this barracks was pretty rough. It was what they refer to as a class 4 barracks. It's all the people that have gotten in trouble, just really, really hard-headed kids in there. A lot of really tough people, people that just don't care about anything. So it was just a rough barracks to be in. And it got pretty violent one night over some cigarette stuff between one group of guys and another group of guys. And I wasn't involved in it. I wasn't part of this. I just saw it. And the one group of guys kind of got beat up by the other group of guys and got their stuff taken from them, got their cigarettes taken from them by that group. Like, and when I say a group, there was like 4 of each of them that kind of ran together. Well, those guys that kind of beat them up and took their stuff, they just were hooting and hollering like, you know, like they did something. Well, one of the guys was sitting right under the balcony, like under the edge of the of where the upstairs and the downstairs is. And the guys that he just beat up picked one of those beds up and threw it on him from above. And it's not really far. It's only probably about 10 feet. But them beds are, you know, they're full-size metal steel bed. And it landed on him. And it landed on him with the locker box side. And it, like, I don't know if it broke his neck or what, but his head was all messed up. And his skull was, like, kind of caved in and stuff. And he was, like kind of, like, twitching and, like, freaking out. And, like, his friends, they ran over to him at first. And they like are trying to help him, and they get the thing off of him. And so those guys, they freak out, and they go up there and they start fighting with those guys. And the guards come rushing in, and everyone. And this was another time where they like threw their little pepper spray can things in there, the little gas cans, and that shit's terrible. And but they get that guy out of there. He lived, but he was like he was messed up forever. I saw him a couple years later, and he like kind of walked with his head funny, and he was just messed up. He had a big dent in his head and stuff, and all over just some nonsense, really. Just people just being, for a lack of a better word, just being hooligans, just being thugs, just being evil, bad people. But yeah, they threw that bed on that top of that guy, and that was the most violent, gruesome thing I ever saw in there. And in the 12 years I was in there. But guys, you got to remember, Arkansas is not an overly violent prison system. It's not like other bigger places. So that is really unique to hear. Like when you see something crazy like that. Yeah. But yeah, so that was just a really, really, really shitty situation. And I can still remember like the sound of it, like, 'cause it just sounded disgusting almost. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys watch The Walking Dead, but when Negan hits those dudes with the bat in their head, it sounded like that. And it was just terrible. And I remember because Arkansas barracks don't necessarily have cameras in them. Really, very few do. And so they called everyone out one by one, and they wanted statements and stuff. And I mean, they got them from some people, and then other people, like myself, they just put nothing on the paper because people are who they are. That wasn't none of my business. Even though I saw every bit of it, it still wasn't my business. And so I didn't involve myself with statement for sure. But, yeah, I mean, it was just gross. It was just really, really disgusting. And but yeah, I mean, I don't have like nightmares or anything. But the things that I remember the most were the most traumatic ones, like that, and them kind of things, because man, they're just yucky. It's just a really yucky part of life there. And guys, I've seen some other bad stuff in there, but nothing like that. That was by far the worst. But yeah, so it was pretty bad. I'm glad I don't deal with that no more. That's for sure. Wake up every day wondering, because you just never know in there. You never know if, you're going to be in the hospital or whatever that day. You can put yourself in good positions to where you don't have to deal with that stuff a lot. But sometimes it comes to you. Sometimes you don't have a choice. And that sucks. But yeah, I definitely... in the 12 years I was there, I saw a lot of things. I saw a lot of really bad things. I saw some good things too. Yeah, I did all right yesterday. Did all right. Yeah, if you guys aren't subscribed to Wager Me Sports, please go do that. Wager Me Sports is just like Wager Me This, all one word. I've been giving out baseball picks. I'm running about 66% right now. What was I doing in that unit? Well, I had got there by doing wrong. I don't know if that was after a fight or after I got caught with money or what, because I don't remember how I got there, but I got in trouble some in prison, guys. When I was in prison, in the prison system, I went all the way from the max, which is the worst spot you can be in, all the way up to work release. So I was in every level of the prison system at one time or another. And so, like, I don't, sometimes I don't know. I don't remember what I did necessarily to get there. But yeah, I was all the way from the max all the way up to work release, which is the biggest privilege in the state of Arkansas for a prisoner. They can get to work release. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't remember what I did to be in that spot. But, I mean, there's other things too, guys. Like, I saw knife fights, but guys, believe it or not, knife fights are not like what you see in prison movies, like where most of the knives are really crude and they don't work very well. At most, they put little tiny wounds most of the time that really aren't stopping anything for the huge majority of the time. Now, every now and then, you'll run into one that's just, it's a sword, basically. Like, I saw a guy, and he had a lawnmower blade that was cut down to like a hatchet. And, I mean, and this thing was dangerous. And someone told on him and got it out of the barracks because it was dangerous. And it was in the hands of a guy that was not all there. And so someone got that weapon out of his hands. Because he could have, it was big enough, he could have chopped someone's head off with it. That's, I mean, it was a big, it was like a little miniature, almost like a machete. But guys, like, when I was there, the few times that I thought I might need a weapon, I always chose like something like a pipe. I didn't necessarily want something to try to stab someone with or something. If I thought I needed a weapon, I wanted it to be more like a pipe, because then it's not going to stick in anything, and it's more useful than just stabbing. Easier to deal with. Yeah, I could probably go through all that. I would have to do it in 2 separate states, and so it'd cost me a little money. But believe it or not, guys, it hasn't stopped me from being anything. My past hasn't stopped me from getting jobs or anything like it has other people. I haven't had them issues. So as far as right now, I don't care that much about that, because I would have to get a lawyer and stuff, because my crime had guns involved in it. And I'm not that concerned with it, really. It's like I said, if it was stopping me from doing things, I probably would be more concerned, but it's never stopped me from anything. So I don't worry that much about that. Like, I've had other people say, well, don't you want to have your gun rights back and this and that? Nah, not really. I mean, I look at it like this. If the day ever comes that I need a gun, being a felon is probably the least of my worries. So I don't worry too much about that stuff. But I mean, wager for president. Yeah, I bet. I would be a terrible president. I would never be able to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, and that's, yeah. I believe it or not, guys, I don't think I should get my gun rights back. Like, I don't think I should. So, like, I'm not of the same, like, thinking of a lot of, ex-convicts or whatever you want to call them, where they think that they should just get everything back. I don't think I should get my gun rights back, because I committed crimes with a gun. So I lost the right to that. The protections and stuff that are around that, I lost that because I used it for something wrong. And also, so, right. And also, so, like, look at it like this, okay? So all of you guys that have never done anything wrong with your guns, what I did caused you problems, right? So every crime that's committed with a gun causes you guys that don't commit crimes with guns problems in legislature and all that. So, like, I don't think I should get my gun rights back ever, even if I could. Basically, ruin that. Even though maybe my part of problems was very small. Yeah, strategies from the Oval Office. But still, that's the way I look at that. So, not only did I commit crimes, but then on top of that, I'm contributing to the problem with the gun control stuff, because guys like me at that time were willing to take guns and use them for crimes. And so that's the way I look at that now. I have a much different outlook on life and the world and the way things work. I don't like the idea that people can get them rights back. Now, if you got in trouble for hot checks or something, yeah, that's different. I understand that. Here's another thing that bothers me, okay? So I'm about to move to Colorado, right? And in Colorado's employers, they're not allowed to ask you about your past. They're not allowed to do it. It's like state law that they're not allowed to ask you. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely insanity. They're hiring you to work at their company. They should be able to ask you that stuff. They should be able to know it out of your mouth by asking you. So like that bothers me. Now, and I don't know how far it stretches, but just from the first thoughts of that, so that means that pedophiles could be working at daycares. That bothers me. If they can't ask about someone's past, I mean, if you're not obligated to let them know that you have a history of criminal activity, that's ridiculous to me. I mean, I don't like that at all. That bothers me. I mean, the people that hire me aren't going to have to worry about it because I'm going to tell them anyway. But just because I don't like secrets like that, I don't want stuff to be secrets. Right, that's the kind of crap. Yeah, I was thinking, it's like, what? Because I'm like I said, I'm going to try to get on the Coors Brewery, and I do think I'll be able to get on. But I'm gonna tell them about my past. It's not gonna be a secret, because that stuff never stays secret forever. And then let's say you get in there a couple years and you're doing well, and then they find out, hey, how can we? What's the deal with this? Why were you hiding that from us? I'm never gonna have that. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm definitely not gonna hide from it either. I don't know. That stuff bothers me. I can't believe they have rules like that. And now I get there was probably some problem they had, some social injustice stuff, why they made those rules. Felons weren't able to get out and get jobs or something. And so they made a rule thinking, oh yeah, this will be good. We'll help them out. And then it just turns out that it just causes other problems. And that's one of the things that I really don't understand about criminals and people that have criminal histories, is why you think that you should be forgiven by the everyday person. I don't understand why people think that. Why you think that people should forgive you just because you did your prison time. People don't have to forgive you for anything. That's not necessary. I don't ever expect people to forgive me for what I did, or to not judge me on it. I expect to be judged on it, and rightfully so, because I did those things. Yes, I was convicted. Yes, I did my time, but that time didn't matter for the guy that I just meet. If he doesn't want to associate with me because of my past, I'm not going to be mad about that. I'm not going to let that bother me in that fashion, because that's his right. That's his choice. I don't want people to feel obligated to something like that, especially if you don't believe that. If you think what I did is heinous and terrible and you don't want to deal with me, I don't think you should be obligated to do it just because of something in society that says we should be giving these guys, whatever. I don't like that at all. That's not who I am. And I just have a way different look than most people on this. And I know I do, so. And when people they'll tell me sometimes, well, you got so much time and you were so young. And I was like, and I always tell them the same thing. I always tell them the exact same thing. I said, well, check this out. Put your family in that situation in front of that pistol that I was holding. Now tell me I got too much time. And usually when you tell people that, they're like, oh yeah, well, if it was that situation, then yeah, so, that was somebody's family. Those were somebody's people, And so one of the things that I'm least proud of, and I didn't know this at the time, but one of the people in the robbery that I robbed was pregnant. She was pregnant. And, I could have caused just the stress alone. I could have caused all kinds of problems for that child. And I don't know, I may have. I've never heard anything of it. But those are the kind of things that could have happened, and I didn't at the time when I was that ignorant young man, I just never thought about anything like that ever. I never crossed my mind that I was hurting anybody. All that crossed my mind was that I wanted that money and they were going to give it to me. That's all I cared about. I mean, everyone to each their own, fiber optic. I mean, that traffic ticket could be a huge deal to you. That's fine. I mean, everyone has their own. And I mean, that it is a huge deal to you is probably a good thing. You know? But that kind of stuff bothers me, especially when people that, chose to do dumb stuff, chose to do wrong, expect forgiveness, expect, the society to just accept them back. That's you have to earn those things. You have to earn your way. And that's something that criminals have a really hard time understanding, is that they have to earn their way. And I would say that's probably the biggest problem, is that they don't understand that it's not free. Respect is not free. Earning someone's trust is not free. Just because you did your time, that's what the state or the federal government asked you to do. That doesn't have anything to do with the guy at Walmart. He don't have nothing to do with that. So that stuff bothers me, guys. It really does. And because what it does too is, so when people get privileges like that, so for example, when they just give people their rights back in certain states, like this has happened, they just decided to give all the felons their rights to vote back, right? Well, that marginalizes the hard work I've put in to change my life and to be better and to do all these things that I do now that are so far removed from that life. When they just give it back to people, it just marginalizes all of the things I've done. I don't like this stuff. You gotta earn it. I hate when people think they should just get some kind of free pass for, and I'm not talking about people, if you haven't done anything wrong, yeah, you should be entitled. Appreciate that. But, if you've never done anything wrong and you become an adult, you should be entitled to all the benefits that living in the United States offers. You should be on the same, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Steve-O. All, the same starting ground as people of your same education level and all that. Obviously, if you just get out of high school, you shouldn't be becoming a chemical engineer or something. You have to go to school for that. There's things you have to do. But, if you're just out of high school and you're going into the construction trades, and you're going with another guy that don't have any experience either, yeah, everyone should be on the same playing field. And what I'm talking about there is like race and women or men and this and that. I totally agree with that. But if you were a criminal and you went and did a bunch of dumb shit like I did, you are not on the same level, and people should not trust you, and you shouldn't expect that they do. And that stuff, that's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff that bothers me. That entitlement that criminals have. Like, they come out and they're like, no, you should have to do this for me. No, they shouldn't. But anyway, that's kind of my rant. It went from prison stories to me ranting about criminals. But anyway, I'm almost home, so appreciate you guys for keeping me up on the way home. I drive a good hour, and after working a 12-hour shift all night, sometimes it gets dicey. Sometimes it's, I drive in the grass every now and then. Yeah, it's definitely tricky. What's the next strategy? Oh, man, I just use the same strategies pretty much. It's pretty much just 6, 7, 8 or a variation thereof. I don't deviate much from that because that's what works for me. I do like some other strategies. Like there's other strategies I really like. But they just aren't consistent enough. So I don't hardly ever play them. I do have something that I'm going to do, though. I do have something I'm going to do because there's been a couple videos lately, just different channels. Yeah, his are awesome. Yeah, his are absolutely awesome. But guys, DGE essentially plays 6, 7, 8. If you look at his videos, he plays don't bets and lay bets with the 6 and 8. I mean, it's essentially 6, 7, 8. So a lot of what he does, which is great because that totally makes sense because they're the most commonly rolled numbers. So why wouldn't you want to win on them? That's why DGE is so intelligent. That's why he wins. So if you want to win craps, you play the most probable numbers, right? Well, the 6, 7, 8, they're most probable. So you're going to win on them the most times in any given set of rolls. I mean, it just makes sense. It's not like overly complicated concept, I guess. Anyways, guys, thank you again for riding home with me. Listen to me whine. And y'all have a great day.